Welcome to Truman's Town Hall with your host, Matt Truman.
Hello. This is Matt Truman. Thank you for downloading this episode. Thank you for sharing with a friend. I am in the Brick City Outdoors. That would be a cool name for a hunting store. Brick City Outdoors. Sell some shotguns, some assault rifles. No, I'm just kidding. Brick City Outdoors. Hey, whoever opens that store, you can have that name. Just saying. Hope everybody's doing good today. I'm just sitting outside. Thought I'd throw a podcast out there. We talked a little bit about, I think it was on the last podcast or two ago, about the $28,000 that was lost due to the real estate venture. Now this week the mayor talked a little more in depth about that at the end during the official city comments from your elected officials. And I'll play that clip here in a minute. But before I do, let me refresh you on a little something from this deal. There was a citizen on the 23rd of September, before the Dayton Daily News article came out, there was a citizen that asked about this issue. Here is what happened there.
Okay, next up is item 8, which is citizen comments. Mr. Rogers, do we have anyone here to speak?
Yes, we have several this evening. First up, we have Cheryl Scott. If you'd please come to the podium.
Thank you, Council and Mr. Mayor, for allowing me to speak. I do apologize. I have a paralyzed vocal cord, so I'll try to speak as best as I can. Per my vocal rehab, I do have my little question written out just in case I get hung up on a word or two. But I did want to ask a question of the Council and the Mayor. My question is regarding the economic development opportunity. I noticed that on December 26th of last year, there was a $4,000 charge that was out there, and then March 20th of 2019, another check, a disbursement of $20,000, and then on March 25th of this year, for $4,000, totaling $28,000. I was wondering what was the city's reimbursement investment on this, and also was there a vote to authorize expenditures on this? On this?
Show me the money. So, assume you're directing your question to me.
Thank you. Thank you.
So,
sorry, I couldn't speak properly there. Sorry.
So I don't think there's anyone who, at least has been paying attention to me and this council, that doesn't know that economic development is a very, very dear to our hearts, and the things that we're trying to do to increase our economic development. There are measures that we've taken. I think everyone's familiar with the Brandt Pike revitalization project. And I guess from that perspective, everyone should know or understand that that is going to take the purchase of some land, take the purchase of some buildings along Brandt Pike for us to instigate a Brandt Pike revitalization, if you will. Although the items that you mentioned are certainly a matter of public record, they're on the open checkbook. The discussions around those were all taking place during an executive session, and we have executive sessions for that purpose, so we can discuss the purchase and sale of real estate. I would just say that if people knew the city were people that were interested in purchasing land, sometimes that takes all of our negotiating power away, and the price of some of that property or building or land or what have you would skyrocket. So we have executive sessions specifically for that purpose, And based on the potential ongoing negotiation, I would be uncomfortable, based on our rules of council, disclosing anything else that took place in an executive session. That would be my comments on the matter. If anyone else has any, I'd be open to hear them. Mr. Lyons?
Mayor, thank you for
Thank you.
that. I certainly couldn't agree with you more about the issue of economic development. I was for the Brandt Pike revitalization. For this failed land purchase, I was still for it because I believe it's good for the city. One of the things that's brought up, there may be some question about the $28,000 that's spent. There also may be some question about the responsibility for staff versus council. If you would be in favor, we could have a ratifying action tonight, take that off of staff, put it squarely on city council, and it's our responsibility at that point going forward. But that would be if you would support that ratifying action. Just simply a motion to acknowledge that this had occurred and take the onus off of staff.
Mr. McDonald, is there anything that needs to be taken off of staff or the council? I mean, you were in the executive sessions where you discussed this. Was anything done improperly or illegal?
No, staff has the authority to spend certain amounts of money without even having council authority, which was the case here. The sums that we're talking about did not all go to one particular person. And so there was absolutely nothing improper with the way it was handled. So there wouldn't necessarily need to be a ratification. That's something that's totally up to council. But all the process that was followed to date has been proper.
And Mayor, perhaps I wasn't clear enough, and I should have been. I did not mean to imply or insinuate in any way that anything had been done improper as far as through the action in the meetings of public records of council or by staff. Without a doubt, this is just an issue to clarify that these three expenditures are separate and approved by council.
It would be up to this council and up to me, but I wouldn't be in favor of supporting it at the moment because I think we have potentially ongoing negotiations. And certainly everyone in this council has sworn to be as transparent about things as we can, but I'm not interested in doing any damage or harm to what might potentially be an ongoing negotiation that we've discussed in executive session. So but that would be up to this council.
Okay. Well, Mayor, if you're not supporting that, then I have no motion to make at this time. But thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lyons.
Okay, so a few things to point out with that. And I may have pointed out on the last podcast we did on this subject, but I will point it out again. First off, the sums did go to one particular person, a friend or acquaintance of Councilman Morgan. Now, that person did disperse $20,000 as a straw purchaser to the landowner who the city was trying to purchase the land as earnest money. Here's 20 grand. We intend to buy it. Don't sell it. We want to buy that land. Let's do a purchase agreement and move on. But it did go to one person. So technically, I'm right. Secondly, I have a theory on why the resident came up to ask those questions. If you've noticed, Mr. Lyons is the only council member that wants to discuss this issue. The citizen that came up, I do believe, is a friend of Mr. Lyons. My theory is that Mr. Lyons asked that resident, and I'm not 100% sure. I've asked around, and I believe I'm right, that Mr. Lyons asked that resident to come up and ask those questions. Before those questions were asked, Dayton Daily News did not report on this. To my knowledge, I don't know who knew about this deal because it was discussed in the back. Yes, there were checks out on checkbook, the city checkbook, opengov.org. But unless you're really looking for them, that would have been hard to find. It was there, and someone could have found it, and someone could have came up and asked those questions. But if my theory is correct, and Mr. Lyons asked the citizen to come up and ask those questions so he could open up a discussion on this topic, why? Because after this, that is when the Dayton Daily News reported on this issue. I think we all understand that real estate purchases sometimes need to be discussed in executive session. As much as I want everything out in the open and transparent, if what is explained to us is true, that the landowners did not all of them wanted to sell, sometimes you have to do it in a way, slick, call it slick, I don't know, call it smart business, whatever you want, sometimes it has to be done that way. And I understand that. And I think I mentioned that before as well. So, what I'm saying is this. My theory is that Mr. Lyons wanted this out there. Why? He hasn't really said. And I think that's unfortunate. Because the way I see it, that's not transparent. If you have a question and you are a council member and you are not getting the answers that you desire, you need to be more transparent about it. Okay. Instead of having someone come up and ask the question, maybe ask the question yourself and say, I have this question. This is going on. This is going on. The only reason you would ask somebody else to come up there is so you can hide behind that. And I don't know if that's productive for our city council. I don't know if that's productive for our community. That is just a theory that I have. If I'm wrong, I will admit I am wrong. Okay, so that happened. The Dayton Daily News article came out. And then the mayor was forced to address all of it at the last city council meeting. And this is what he had to say.
Okay, before we go, I do have something I'd like to address. There has been lots of chatter, even I guess a Dayton Daily newspaper article, and I've been asked to address our potential and tried land purchase. So I do want to take a few minutes and give kind of some background and let everyone know just what transpired, because that's clearly out in the public domain now. Even the name of the shopping centers and the things we were trying to purchase to revitalize Brandt Pike is out in the public. So we might as well just have a discussion and have a talk about it. So first I'd want to say that every penny that is in the city's bank accounts, the multiple different funds that we have, all belong to the people. They all belong to the taxpayers. And I recognize that, and I think we all recognize that. The question was regarding the $20,000 of, if we call it earnest money, that was paid. So this council had, through Mr. Morgan, an acquaintance, had let us know that he thought there was somebody that could help the city. He has also known, this council has had many conversations, that the Brandt Pike revitalization project is important to all of us. And when Mr. Morgan informed us that he was going to try to set up a meeting with Mr. Schomer in regard to trying to revitalize Brandt Pike, I think that got all of us excited. I know me personally, I felt that changing, if we could do something along Brandt Pike that would literally change the face of Brandt Pike and help change the face of the community, what people have thought was an area that has needed updated for many, many years. And